Welcome back to the Accounting Working Group podcast. I'm your host, Sean Stein Smith. And for our August episode, I am thrilled to say that for the first time ever, there are actually three doctors on this podcast. So hopefully our conversation can be interesting and a bit entertaining, but I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to have you joining us today on the podcast, Dr. Rod Brennan of Lukka and Dr. Alexander Sannella out of Rutgers University. Rod, Alexander, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the podcast. And I'll ask the two of you both to give a quick introduction of you and sort of your involvement in the research we're going to be talking about here today. Rod?
All right, great. Thanks, Sean. So much. Great that we finally got to do this after some time. So great to be here. Yeah, I was formerly the Risk and Internal Control Officer for Siemens Corporation for North America and an educator. I taught in the professional accounting MBA program that Alex runs and directs. And I did my PhD thesis on the topic of intelligent software to enable continuous auditing using analytics, and did it with Rutgers, some PhD students from Rutgers and others. And it got me really interested in it, and did a partnership with the Car Lab, which we'll talk about in a minute, doing research. So I'm really retired now. I do this part-time, but I really enjoy it. And I'm working with some brilliant students who we give a lot of credit to for a lot of this research, and the faculty at Rutgers and other universities, by the way, that collaborate with us. So great to be here.
Thank you so much, Rod. Dr. Sannella.
Yes, thank you, Sean. I'm Alex Sannella. I'm a professor of accounting and information systems at Rutgers Business School. My involvement here is primarily on the accounting standards side. I've done a lot of work on the crypto side as well, but working with Rod over the last 5 years on these projects has been absolutely a phenomenal experience. What started really as a quest to mandate fair value accounting for crypto assets really built into a series of papers that will allow us to value crypto assets at the level 1, 2, and 3 levels according to the ASC 820 hierarchy. I've also done some research in accounting education, and I teach at the graduate level at Rutgers Business School, and I direct the professional accounting program.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Sannella, it's an absolute honor to have here on the podcast. And I do have to interject that I actually was a faculty member at Rutgers, but down at Rutgers Camden several years ago. So always good to have that Rutgers connection come back to the forefront. And so, both of you mentioned sort of the process by which this research has evolved. Because obviously, there has been quite a lot changing and evolving around how crypto assets are valued, accounted for, and all the rest. So, in as brief as possible, an overview. What are some of the highlights of the research that has been going on at Rutgers, both in the Car Lab and elsewhere, and sort of where is it now?
I think, Rod, if I can just start off on this,
Sure.
and you can jump in. I mean, as I said, it did evolve, but I think at this point, our key research questions are to explore the possibility of robust and dynamic fair value methodology to value digital assets or crypto assets, and to align with the global accounting standards. So, we achieved, I think, a theoretical and practical set of dynamic models to implement fair value accounting for measuring and reporting crypto assets. And it's applicable to ASC 820, IFRS 13, and local statutory GAAP. We've also developed automatic or executable automatic dynamic methodology for, as I said, we evolved into the leveling. We did a presentation at a hedge fund, and that's where I think we started thinking about the leveling for the projects. We've also looked at maybe you might call it a threshold or a measure for determining when a crypto asset or cryptocurrency would be considered thinly traded. And we try to fill in where their guidance may be lacking. So I think that that's been our major set of research questions and contributions to date. Right?
Yeah, and we did this with the idea of doing, basic and applied research that's really usable in the world and solves real problems, as opposed to kind of amorphous research that's sometimes done, as you know, at universities. And just building on that, what Alex said, and by the way, we do this with the CAR Lab, and the AIS program at Rutgers is the leading program in the nation, voted some 19 years in a row in accounting information systems, which this is a big part of. So what we did was we started with, as Alex mentioned, the idea of marking to market, which is ASC 820 and IFRS 13 have 3 levels in them. And the first is a mark to market. So that's a actively traded, orderly transactions in an active market. And there we developed, and a lot of naysayers said, you'll never do this. You'll never establish a principal market and an exit price for crypto because it's so fragmented. Well, we found a way to do that in a very disciplined way that aligned with the standards. We had input from the likes of former FASB chairs such as Bob Hertz and others that actually developed the original standards, and we came up with a methodology. And then what we hope happens, and this did happen with this, is that companies such as, I'm an advisor to Lukka and other companies, and that they would take that and that would inform, their, product development. And so, Lukka developed what's called Lukka Prime, which is used throughout the world right now, using a standards aligned ASC 820 level 1 methodology, and establishing a clear principal market and a compliant principal market. And that's important because in the crypto world, of the 300 plus exchanges, probably 85% of them aren't compliant exchanges. So you shouldn't be pulling exit prices off of there. And then, as Alex mentioned, then we came up with the idea and we said, well, now you got to figure out how do you decide what is an active market? And we found some research done by the SEC in 2018 and 19, where they determined through a modeling that they did that an ADV, an average daily unit volume of securities of 100,000 determines whether something's active or thinly traded, and level 1 or level 2. And what was interesting was that threshold basically showed that about 50% of the assets make up 98 plus or 99 plus percent of the average daily volume of securities. So we repeated that study and did it with crypto carefully, the same study that the SEC, and we found a remarkable correlation between the structural correlation between the crypto market and the securities market. So where 50% of the crypto makes up 98 plus percent of the average daily volume. And we did it both in daily volume and in unit volume and in dollar volume. We found it was even more accurate in using dollar volume instead of daily volume, instead of unit volume, simply because of the disparity in pricing. You have Bitcoin that's $55,000, and then you have Shiba coin that has a circulating supply of 243 trillion units or something. So, but either way, it worked. So that was a second project. Then we were free to say, okay, so now let's look at level 2, which is thinly traded assets. And there, in the securities world, they often use a midpoint between the bid ask or something, market data. But we found a way to use what was called, and there you mark to model. So you have to have a model that models the economic phenomena that you're doing. And there we found, interestingly, that we used what's called a principal path market. So we took these thinly traded actual observable transactions, which is what you should use under the standards, and we developed a principal path and used only, again, compliant exchanges. and we developed a pricing off of that. Then we got to level 3, and I'm going fast here, Alex, just jump in if I'm missing anything.
I got that.
And then we got to level 3, and this is where sort of like matrix pricing with bonds, where you do not have observable or reliable observable transactions. And here we said, we want to stay with the standards. We want to make the standards. And by the way, the reasoning for that is that, and we learned this from the ISB and the FASB, who we met with quite a few times, that, if you start to define whole new standards for asset classes or something, that's a 10-year process, So if we can't fit, and this goes going forward too, we can't fit the crypto world or the blockchain world into existing standards and have to rewrite literally the standards. It ain't happening for 10 years because they can't move that fast no matter what happens, But anyway, so what we did with the level 3 is we said, okay, so we don't have observable transactions, but we have comparable assets like matrix pricing. And then we said, let's leverage exogenous data. Let's leverage things like classifications, and let's leverage print media or social media. We decided to only use print media from a product called Raven Pack. And what we were able to do is see a clear empirical correlation between the press sentiment, which is AI-enabled press sentiment, and the price of Bitcoin, for example, or the price of Ethereum. And so what we do is we take a comparable asset and we compare that asset looking at it by classing it carefully with a whole lot of variables. And this is all, again, done dynamically. And then we apply sentiment analysis, and we're able to calculate a comparable matrix-based type pricing, and really excited about that. And that has just been accepted for final publication in a leading journal. In fact, all these papers have been for final publication. So those are the ones that we finished so far. But the key to this is that we came up with the whole package. So we have all the leveling in ASC 820, and we met with the FASB, we met with the IASB, and we had a chance to, I don't know to what extent, they don't tell you, they don't say thank you for the brilliant, we're going to use it, but we had a chance to influence that, and that was exciting. And they in fact, the FASB made this ASU for the fair value accounting for crypto in short order. That came quick, and it's being implemented. Alex, jump in there. Did I miss it? I want to go on now to the research we're doing now and what we're looking forward to.
Okay,
but go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, before we do that, let me just mention that we mentioning sometimes I say digital assets. We did not include NFTs, so that may be something for future research. But I think when Rod mentioned our find on the SEC definition of a inactive market. That shows that we were really looking back at some of the classic research to start us off. So we looked at prior research, looking for analogous models. So in the last paper we did, we actually, with the sentiment analysis, we built sort of a modified market model to come up with our valuation. So we are, using what was done historically to value equity securities and applying it to the digital or the cryptocurrency. And in fact, even in our principal path model, we're borrowing a lot of what we see in valuing foreign currency transactions.
Yes. Yeah. So then looking forward, what we're doing now, we feel there's a huge urgency, which we've communicated with you guys and with the AICPA and others, to come up with a way to audit the blockchain. In other words, to apply systems controls, IT general controls under Sarbanes-Oxley. It's a requirement to rely on a significant financial system that it's accredited with a SOC or an ISO or a NIST or some type of certification. And we feel that is an urgent need, and it's what is the governor on the adoption of and the influx of public money and public companies in the blockchain space. When I was the risk officer at Siemens for North America, even if I thought the best thing in the world to do was invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum or do transactions in it, I wouldn't have been allowed by my audit board to do it because I couldn't get a a sock for Bitcoin, or I couldn't get it. Now Michael Saylor and Elon Musk, they can they maybe have more influence on their audit boards, but it just they can't get audited financial statements. So what we're doing there is we're looking at an AI enabled model, and we actually have the first draft of the paper done, and we're sending it through to the PCAB actually for a conference that they're doing. And there, what we're looking at is using AI and a node on chain on the blockchain to audit the risk areas of blockchain that are different for IT general controls, such as protocol code, conformance of consensus mechanisms, and most importantly, smart contracts. Now, there's a lot of people that are doing audits of smart contracts before they get on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies out there, including the big four, that say, oh, we audit blockchains. Well, I've never seen an audit program for a blockchain yet, because the risks and assertions are very different than they are in the central database world, because there's different things. There is no archiving. There is no data center, but there is risks with protocol code and with keys management and with other things. So, and we have a publication from the AICPA that I was an author of, that actually developed by Rutgers and Lukka, and was open source to the AICPA and ISACA, and they developed about 100 or so controls that cover 5 key areas of blockchain, which include smart contracts and infrastructure and governance and key management and data. And we're using some of those controls that came, or risks that came from actual hacks that have happened on the blockchain. And we're writing an audit program that would actually run on the blockchain. And the big question there that's been the reason this hasn't been adopted long ago, and the AICPA, I think, agrees with this, is that they can't figure out a revenue model. Like, who's going to pay you to audit the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain, But nonetheless, it has to be done, because these are significant financial systems that are making significant transactions. And I'm not talking about auditing the data. Lots of people are auditing the data in and data out of blockchain, and you can do that off-chain. But if the system itself isn't accredited, then the data audit means nothing, really. So that's the next project that we're working on. And Alex, if you want to talk about maybe some of the others, we're looking at valuation of things other than cryptocurrencies, because we believe tokenization is going to be huge of illiquid assets, and that's an area. And we're hoping that we can apply these same standard aligned fair values methodologies that we use for crypto dynamically to other assets. Alex?
Like you said it, Rod, that's it. That's our future research, trying to bring in NFTs and other types of digital assets, and to see if the models we have now apply. And if we need to, we certainly could build variations or modifications of the model, as we've done in a couple of the models. The principal path model, we now really enhanced that by adding more latency issues and fees and gas into the valuation.
Yep. And another area that we were challenged recently in a conversation with Joe Lubin, who's the founder of Ethereum, to think about is, what about DeFi and decentralized, defining what decentralized really means. I know the MiCA standard is coming out right now, and they're still on the fence about whether it'll be a requirement to have accreditation for DeFi, or if you can require KYC and AML and other standard things. I don't know. I feel there's going to have to be some compromise by the decentralized groups in order to get the kind of accreditation we're talking about for the investment community and others. But they haven't made that decision yet. So, but nonetheless, I think we need to be able to accredit for IT general controls, these blockchains, these DeFi, the DAOs, whatever they are. And I think that can be done in a dynamic way and in a principle-based, standard-aligned way, like ASC 820 and IFRS 13. So,
no, and I think both of you raised obviously excellent points, and the research that you and your team had been able to do, and to put it bluntly, push through, because I'm sure trying to get emerging topic research through academic peer review is not always easy.
yeah.
But no, but all of that really, I think, has directly and indirectly really sort of pushed us forward in terms of how to try to value and ultimately report out the value of these assets. But Rod and Dr. Sannella, the whole issue on the audit side of how to audit blockchains themselves, or even auditing various components. There have been a few efforts made in that direction. I know Rod's brought up that there are smart contract audits being done, that there are audits of aspects of blockchain data, in and out. But I have to ask, right? Having the two of you on here, both experts doing really applied in-depth research, do you feel, and I didn't prep you guys for this one, but in your personal point of view, do you feel that the concept of a proof of reserves or proof of solvency can be used in some way to build out a better audit framework for the information on the blockchain?
Mm-hmm. Are you referring there, Sean, to the stable coin proof of reserve? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Auditing.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually was involved in. I'll go first, Alex, on this, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
I responded through the global DCA and some others to the stable coin thing. And my point there was that, in addition to the suggested improvements, first of all, with reserve auditing, it's useless if it's not done in a dynamic, continuous, population-based manner. So if you're going to do a proof of reserve in December, and then that's going to stand for the year, that's nonsense, and it's nonsense in the central database world as well as in the crypto world, for sure, the blockchain world. And the other thing that I talked about in my response was that I think, again, we have to not just cover the reserve issues, but we should accredit these stable coin blockchains, or these stable coins, for not just the reserve stuff, but everything. But I think proof of reserve can certainly be automated and should be automated, and it should be a continuous monitoring with closed loop alerting, so that when the reserve gets, because of minting or burning, when the reserve is out of a line, there's some type of alert that's closed loop, that's corrected or fixed or whatever. But I think also we need to be able to accredit those stablecoin systems as well, because they're a blockchain, and in most cases, and I think those same principles could apply, and I think we should apply them to other stablecoin schemas, other than just fiat backed. Alex, anything?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to say I agree with that. And I think, as Professor Vassarelli here in the Rutgers Accounting Research Center will tell you, that he just believes real-time monitoring is absolutely critical. Any other way to go is not going to be very useful in the long run.
No, and well said. And to wrap up our conversation, because I could have you two on here for 8 hours, right? Easily. But to wrap up our conversation, right, for our audience who's interested in actually reading more of your research and staying up to date on your newer topics, where are the best places that all of us can do so?
I mean, I think we have our publications in Journal of Accounting, Auditing, and Finance. We have our publications in the International Journal of Accounting and Information Systems. And we'll probably have something in JETA, the Journal of Emerging Technologies in Accounting. So we've published, this will be our 5th paper, I believe, when it's released. So, we welcome anyone. We can always get the links and information out to you on a request basis.
Right. And they can email us as well, and we can
Yeah.
send the information. I do got to qualify that these are empirical research papers that are very technical with a lot of formulas and stuff. So I'd like to do something on more of a like we're doing here today, more of a summary level, because you get lost in the sauce and some of the formulas and stuff. And Sean, I want to make this comment too, that I just want to give a lot of credit to these students that work with us. We have really brilliant PhD students that aren't just, learning from us, but they are innovating, and they're coming up with the technologies that we're using to do this kind of dynamic valuation, for example, or auditing, and using AI and other things to do it. So I just want to give them credit, because they really drive this process. We help, but they drive it. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rod, when you were in Siemens, how important the corporate partnerships are, not only to the car lab, but to the PhD students. It's really a trajectory that gets them, going. And once they get going, they're, as I said, critical to our process. Absolutely. No question.
And we'd encourage people out there to partner with the Car Lab. It's a fantastic way to grow your business and to learn innovation and technology, costing very little. They don't even charge anything. We just ask that you provide a stipend for the students. And we work on projects that are very bleeding edge and dynamic, not just in blockchain, but in other accounting research stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Rod and Dr. Sannella, it really has been a blast having you on the podcast. I mean, all of your research, both current and future, really, I think, is doing quite a lot to help all of us in the accounting, finance, sort of market-based view of blockchain and tokenized assets get better data and then communicate that better out to the marketplace. I would love to have you both on again in the future, for some updates on your research. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Alex.
Thank you. Bye.